Welcome to Fit and Bold, where we promote healthy lifestyles. I'm your host, Lakita Goins. Stress, stress, stress. You have continuously heard us talk about the negative effects that stress has on your physical health. Today, we're going to talk about the toll that it can take on your mental health. So I'm here today with Dr. Rhonda Maddox, the medical director at United Family Services. How are you today?
Very well, thank you for having me.
All right. What is stress?
It is your body's response to different external or internal factors that are going on to kind of bring an equilibrium. Mm-hmm. You know, the word stress really wasn't used regularly until about the 1930s, when they started talking more about how your body responds to fight or flight. You know, if there is a signal that something that you may be under attack, then your body responds to it.
Okay, so can stress affect your mental, can it have an effect if you have a mental illness already? And if so, how and why?
Well, stress is going to affect you, period,
right.
You know, regardless. And so, you know, acute stressors, you'll notice your body reacting to it, from maybe your heart beating, you know, more rapidly, tension in your neck, you know, the sweaty palms, like you're going out on a first date or something. So it affects all of us, sometimes for the good. You know, if you're preparing for a test, that little bit of extra stress causes you to study a little bit harder. But the problem becomes when it's more prolonged, you know, and when it's like anticipatory anxiety. You know, it never happens, but you're just worried, you know, what if I don't get this? What if I lose my job? What if and so it's more prolonged. That kind of prolonged overactivity, overstimulation of your body, you know, that's the kind of thing that leads to the ulcers, or the migraine headaches, or, you know, the overeating and the high blood pressure. So
okay, now in the South, I've heard a lot, oh, she had a mental breakdown.
Yes.
Can stress cause mental illness, or can you talk about that?
Well, I'll tell you, we call things, you know, psychiatric disorders or mental illness when things that sometimes other people respond just normally to may cause us to start, you know, having an impairment in how we interact with our relationships, how we perform our job duties, you know, even our academic performance. And so there's a wide spectrum in terms of what mental illness is. What actually happens, you know, with one mother may not happen with another. So it's really about the impairment that is that lasts for, you know, a period of time and contributes to, you know, kind of breakdown in relationships or breakdown at work or those kinds of things. So the answer to your question is yes, it can contribute to it, but then you have all those other things like genes factoring in, environmental things that factor in. So I would say you can be predisposed to psychiatric conditions, and then you just throw in that stress and voila.
Okay, so what are some of the non-physical signs of stress?
Perhaps just kind of how you're thinking. You're rehearsing things over and over. You're worrying. You are kind of going, you know, in and out. You're not being as functional. You know, you may be at work, but you're the person who was normally very efficient, now you have to read that paragraph over and over and over again.
Right.
You know, and so you're not as efficient. Can
it affect your sleep?
It definitely can affect your sleep.
Okay.
You know, if you're worrying and you're up, I think I read a study about 40% of people, because of stress, will lay awake at night just ruminating and have more difficulty going to sleep. You know, stress can affect not only your relationships, but it can affect your heart health, can affect the choices that you make as it relates to eating, can affect the choices that you make just to numb that stress, you know, drinking more, using recreational drugs, trying to numb and not think about those things. So stress definitely, I would say, impacts almost, you know, every facet.
Right. So We know what it can do, the negative effects of it. How can you cope with stress? What are some of the ways to cope with it?
Well, I would say to begin with, one of the things that you want to create is a supportive network of people. A lot of times women are actually have better health because they have a stronger support system. If a woman gets, very upset, she'll call a friend and talk. However, men will exhibit kind of the more masculine, hold it all in, not discuss. So just the ability to talk about things that's bothering you really helps. Framing things in the right perspective. Sometimes, we have individuals who will kind of catastrophize everything.
Right.
Everything is major. Everything can be the end of the world. But, studies show that people who just change how they look at things really can improve their mental health. For instance, you're driving into work, someone gives you a book and you look at it and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to implement this. This is great. I'm going to, really be a shining star. The next person gets that book and say, oh, I'm such a nitwit. How many people have I killed if I'd had this information? And so it's really about how you perceive things,
right.
So your thoughts really can create a very anxiety-provoking, stressful situation. I love to encourage people to exercise, to walk, to develop, healthy strategies, whether it be knitting or doing yoga or Zumba, but something that allows you to release some of that nervous and that stressful, energy.
Right.
I remember when I was in med school, one of the things that I would do when I felt myself getting really anxious, I would say, okay, I'm going to go for a walk. Mm-hmm. And I'd say, it's just going to be a 5-minute walk. And I lived in this very beautiful district, Quapaw, a lot of homes that are very beautiful. And so before I knew it, I was calmer, mm-hmm. I was losing weight, and I was actually eating healthier. So really, not lighting up when you get stressed,
right.
Not smoking, not drinking, not doing some of those things that ultimately are going to make you feel worse down the road, but choosing more healthier options.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, what not to do. But so now I'm going to jump to children. How does stress affect children?
Well, I'll start with kind of our younger ones. It really affects them a lot like us. The difference is that, children don't, they may not have developed effective communication strategies.
Right.
And so they're not going to sit down. Your 3-year-old's not going to sit down and say, Mommy, I had a really bad day. Jimmy hit me and, or whatever. They're going to come in, they're going to be, a little bit crankier. Mm-hmm. They're more whiny. They're, kind of sometimes a little bit more clingier to you, insisting on being held, stuff like that. You may notice it come out in their nightmares. You may even notice a return to, children who have previously been potty trained. Now all of a sudden they're not. Right. They're wetting the bed. They're, doing those kinds of things. And so it can, as a parent, if you're a parent of not a whole lot of children, many times you recognize kind of your children's patterns. As you start to see those patterns change, just kind of stay in tune with it. When I'm out of town, I will call, and ask, how's my daughter doing, or whatever. I didn't realize that children, even really, really tiny children, can experience stress until my husband was out of town. And my daughter, who was only maybe 18 months old, she was just whiny, she wouldn't eat, she was playing alone, and she's normally very social. And then one day I realized she was looking at where he normally sits and then looking back to where she was and just crying. And I realized, she didn't have the communication skills, so all she was doing was crying and she wouldn't eat,
right.
And so you have to realize sometimes we negate the tinier ones, but they have those stressors as well.
Right. So how can parents help the children cope with stress?
Well, you'll hear me say time and time again, the talk thing, and really being mindful of your position when you're talking to them. Sometimes as parents, what we think is talking is us telling, us blaming, our tone is off. Nobody wants to talk to someone who is
right.
Or you don't, your children don't either. And so when you take on that tone, they take on more of a defensive posture. But when you just, kind of, you set the framework for having a great relationship with your child, talking, kind of on the daily or whatever. What's been going on? Tell me, what made you laugh? What made you? And so when the stressors come, you already have that relationship that's in place to where they feel comfortable talking to you about it. Making sure that you're paying attention to the friends that they are around. A lot of children's stress will come when you add new people to the equation, and new people who, you know, may say words like fat or ugly or whatever. When your children come home and they're introducing these new words, you know, pay attention and say, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mattis. We enjoy that you're a regular now on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, audience, when we return, we're going to be doing our Fit and Bold Healthy Recipe Pick, so don't leave.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Isaac Henry, a recent graduate from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff with a degree in sociology. I could be searching for a job at this point, but thanks to my mentor, Matt Gaston, and the skills I've learned here at the university, I was able to obtain a position as a Gold Bar recruiter.
Isaac was mission-oriented from the very start. His hard work and dedication got him over 4 Presidential Physical Fitness Awards while earning his degree. UAPB can help prepare students like Isaac for those same opportunities.
UAPB prepared me.
Four years ago, I went through something that was very difficult for me. I was faced with a very big challenge at a young age. Once I reached out to my sister, it got a little better. Once I told my mother, it got a little better. The more I talked about it, I felt it coming off. If you're strong enough to just open your mouth, that's all it takes.
Lead paint poisoning affects 1 million children today. If you're pregnant or have young children and your home was built before 1978, you could be at risk. Learn how to protect your family. To find your home's danger zones, the health effects, or just to find help, log on to leadfreekids.org.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to Fit and Bold. Today we've been learning about the psychological effects of stress. Now, stress can take over your life if you let it, but we have to stop it before it gets to that point. An important part of anything is to eat healthy. So with that in mind, our Fit and Bold Healthy Recipe Pick is grilled corn and tomatoes. So how is this related to stress? Well, as with anything else, like I've just said, you have to eat healthy. Now, corn and tomatoes fall into the bright color fruit and vegetable realm. That keeps you with a healthy heart. It keeps you feeling better, and if you eat better, you feel better. So what you need when you go to the grocery store, you need corn, and not on the cob. You can either buy it frozen or you can buy it on the cob and scrape it off. You need a tomato. This tomato actually came from my father's garden, so you can easily grow these and save a few dollars. You'll need pepper, and you'll also need honey, and you will need a little bit of olive oil or a cooking spray that can be a non-stick spray. So the first thing you want to do is put your corn into the bowl. Now I have just a single serving that I'm going to cook today so that you can see how it's done. Then I'm going to get my tomato out. And you want to slice it up, and you can see how nice and red it looks on the inside. And you can just slice it into chunks, because you're going to end up putting it in the corn anyway, and that way it will all grill together. Also, for these purposes, I'm going to use an indoor electric grill. So you also want to make sure that's turned on to preheat. If you're grilling outside, you want to have some aluminum foil ready, because a lot of people don't think to cook a lot of their fruits and vegetables on the grill. But if you use foil, you can cook anything on the grill. You also may want to think about, for tomatoes, you can cut them into big chunks and use skewers and cook them that way. So I'm just going to chop this up. I'm going to make more room for myself. And this works a lot better with a cutting board, but we're here with limited space, so we're going to make that space work, which may be realistic in some kitchens as well. So this is going to be the last piece that I chop. And I'm just doing these in not too small of chunks, but big enough to get a good texture and taste. So the next thing I'm going to do is add my other ingredients to my corn. So I am going to add honey. Now this is already sweeter corn, but I'm going to add a little honey. Now a lot of people will add sugar here, but we want to do it a healthier way. So just enough to add a thin coating to the top layer. You also want to have a little something to taste. So for that, I am going to add pepper. And you add that as you see fit. And you can see the color being added here. So you want to start to mix this just a little. Now we want to go back to those chopped tomatoes, and you want to add those in. And you can see how bright that looks. You want to go ahead and mix that. And this way you get the honey and the pepper all mixed in. Now some people, if you have to have a little salt, this would be the time to add it before you cook. I've said before on this show, if you try to season after, it can have a negative effect because you have to add a lot more to taste it. But you really don't need salt at this point. You may want to try without it first and see how it tastes. So I'm not going to add any type of salt to this. But if you can see here, you have a nice blended, brightly colored, healthy dish. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to first spray my grill. And you want to spray the top and the bottom. This makes sure that nothing sticks to it. And make sure my drip pan is in place. I'm going to go ahead and add the corn. Now, this will only take 3 or 4 minutes, but if you were outside on the grill, it might be good. It depends. If you're on a smoker, you might want to leave it on about 25 minutes at most. But if you're actually barbecuing with the flame and you're using foil always, then you may want to cook it for a little less time. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes will get it done. So, and I use frozen corn for the record, so it's already pretty much cooked once it's de-thawed. So I'm just gonna close this for a moment. And if you try this at home, you'll be able to smell the flavors. And sometimes cooking can even be therapeutic in a way, but you want to be careful. You don't want to stress eat, but it's okay to cook at normal times when you would be hungry anyway and to eat healthy meals. Okay, I'm going to open it up to check it. And it's not quite ready, but it's getting closer. So I'm just gonna mix this up a little more. And for the record, audience, this is gonna be my lunch today, or part of my lunch. So I'm just gonna close it back down for a few more minutes. Or not minutes, a few more seconds, because I believe we're almost ready. I can smell the sweetness of the honey. I can smell the pepper. It's smelling really good. So it is ready. I can tell because the tomatoes are cooked, and you can kind of see it here, audience. And so for this purpose, I'm going to remove the drip pan and recycle, since it was nothing raw. Now, always remember too, and this is just a side note, always clean your countertops, especially when you've been dealing with raw meats. You clean them anyway, but especially then, and you want to clean them with disinfectant. So I'm just going to scrape down. And clear off the grill. And then because we use the olive oil, you still get that look of even like when you fry corn, but because we used olive oil, it's all healthy. And I've got it all out here. So I'm gonna show you again what it looks like before I taste, and I'm gonna turn my grill off because I don't wanna have any mishaps. But there you are, audience. If you can see that, that is how it looks finished. I can see the steam coming up. It smells great. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take a taste. I probably tasted too much, but it's really good. You can taste the tomatoes. They're rich. The tomatoes aren't very sweet from the honey, but the corn is a little sweeter. The flavors are robust, and I feel good for eating good. So remember, audience, don't let your daily life stress you out. Even if it takes cooking a healthy meal to get you 10 to 20 minutes of a long time to meditate and to feel better about your everyday life, you take the time you need, because if you get stressed out and you get past the point of no return, there is still a return, but you want to be healthy and try to get away from that point. Everyone needs a break. When we return, part of managing stress is exercise, so stay tuned.
You can do all the things you do with more peace of mind, less worry, and more financial security when you know you've got health insurance. And now, everyone will be able to find health insurance at the Health Insurance Marketplace. It's an online shopping site where you shop for health insurance that fits you, with low cost and even zero premium plans for those whose income qualifies. If you or your family are uninsured or just looking for better coverage, you can see your options all in one place with one application. It's a place to compare a wide range of quality health insurance plans, to review them all side by side, and choose the one that's right for you. You'll find the information clear and easy to understand. You'll explore the marketplace at your own pace. You can compare prices and benefits, see an explanation of what a premium is, and what a plan will cost you every month before you make a choice. And every plan will cover you with comprehensive benefits, from your visits to the doctor or the hospital, to your prescriptions, to screenings for cancer and other conditions. And no plan can turn you away even if you already have an illness or condition. The Health Insurance Marketplace, part of the healthcare law. Opening October 1st, you can learn more right here, right now. And be ready for the new world of health insurance shopping.
Welcome back to Fit and Bold. Today we've been learning about the psychological effects of stress. So we've emphasized until this point you have to find something that you like to do to get away from some of the stress. So I'm here today with Coach Marika Bender. How are you today, Coach?
I'm good.
Okay, so tell us what Zumba is.
Zumba is a Latin-infused form of aerobic exercise dance. The goal basically is to take you around the world. We have Latin music, Caribbean music, hip hop, all of that, and it's a big party. You just have fun, you just party. You don't necessarily have to follow the movements. Long as you keep moving is the thing. Just keep moving and you'll have fun.
All right, and it sounds like great stress relief. So audience, let's get ready to exercise. That was a great exercise. Audience, I hope that you worked out along with us at home. Zumba is fun and it's kind of uplifting. So we need to have this because the psychological effects of stress can really weigh down on you. It doesn't matter what you have to do in a week. You have to find something that you want to do and enjoy doing to minimize these effects that stress can have on us. So remember, find something you like to do, get fit, and be bold.